Welcome to Unleashed with Eva Melton, where we unleash spiritual principles for victorious living.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unleashed with Eva Melton. I'm here today with two of my friends here in Birmingham, Alabama. I really wanted to take time to talk about what it means to pastor, to lead spiritually in the middle of a pandemic, right? We really don't have rule books or playbooks from this century where we've had to deal with this. And so I really wanted to talk to two pastors that I have great respect for, Reverend Franklin and Reverend Daniels. And so first, before we get started, I want you two to introduce yourselves in your own way. Tell us about your congregation, about you and the community that you serve. So we'll start with you, Reverend Geraldine Daniels.
Well, hello, Eva. I am Geraldine Daniels. I'm the pastor of Southside CME Church. We are in the southwest part of Birmingham. The Titusville area is the community that we serve. And the congregation is a Christian Methodist Episcopal congregation, which means we're Methodists. And I'm just glad to be here with you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Reverend Franklin.
Good morning. Thanks you for the invitation to participate in this panel today. Reverend Rodney Franklin, serving as an interim minister of Baptist Church of the Covenant here in Birmingham on the south side, and also serving as a staff chaplain at UAB Hospital.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. So I want to get right into the questions. And first, I want to know what you feel like has been your greatest challenge during the pandemic in a way of leading, and, you know, what has it meant to pastor others and yourself? Geraldine, you want to
go? Well, when I thinking about that question, it has been a time of much prayer and reflection. First of all, because as a pastor during this time, I'm having to be more creative about what I do and very intentional. People have a lot of questions. I'm dealing with a congregation who's used to being in church, so they're frustrated about not being there. Having to be, and Rodney being a chaplain and me having been a chaplain and been in pastoral care, having to be that calm presence in the midst of people to make sure that they understand that the leader is calm and focused. Also, for me, having to manage myself, to manage my own frustrations, anxieties, and I'll even say depressions in this time of just dealing with the situation, because this is something very new to us. So it's been probably more challenging, I'll say, during this time than it is just regular pastoring time when we're in church. I have to learn a lot of new things, of course, which I am thankful at this time. So I think it's getting, getting rest, staying focused, staying connected to the community, which there's a lot of things going on in the community. There are a lot of conference calls to be on. There are a lot of information that's being sent to us to make sure we try to go through and pull out the kind of information, what is needed and probably what you don't need, or something that is useful to your congregation and something that might be not so useful. So it's been a lot. And then, like I said, I have a family here too. I have my grandson with me. And I have a teenager in the house going to school, so I'm having to try to make sure he gets his classes done. So it's been a lot, trying to make sure I stay in that place of pastoring, grandmother, family person, and to take care of my own needs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I've been watching y'all online on Sunday, so it seems like from that perspective, the Sunday morning, which I know it's more than Sunday morning, that y'all have knocked that out of the park and been able to really rely on the skill sets within the congregation, which seems to me a lot easier to do in this moment, because people are frustrated and they really want to find a way, how do I fit in to this? Because I can't physically come to church. I can't physically come to Bible study. So how can I play a part? And I think that's important to understand, I guess, that hopelessness sometimes, or not feeling a part of something, even though you're trying to do what is safest for everybody. So
yeah.
their pivot to Rodney. A
Um,
response to that?
sure. The Bible reminds us that where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And so the challenge for us has been, how do we live that out virtually? Because we are churchy people. We like to hug, we like to touch, we like to sing together, pray together, and eat together. And now that we're in this COVID pandemic, we can't do any of that. And so we've had to understand what church means besides an address, and how do we continue to minister to people and minister to ourselves in a virtual space. And so we've been able to continue our Wednesday feedings, but with the CDC guidelines as far as spacing, as far as cleanliness is concerned. And so instead of people eating on the property, we have to-go boxes where they get it, clean up, and go, and so that they can continue to have their meals. So again, the challenge has been, how do we be nimble and flexible in being church? And so a blessing for me is having staff that is flexible and creative, especially with the technology, because some of the technology aspect was foreign to me, to the extent of doing Bible study and doing worship experience. And so we've kind of fallen to a rhythm as far as what we will plan out for the week for Bible study and for Sunday service. We have weekly staff meetings online. And so we talk about not only our regular church stuff, but also what is our production schedule for the week. When will we film, when we take pictures, when we get others involved for the Sunday worship experience. So again, the recurring theme is, how do we be church outside of the address?
I like that, church without an address. I've been watching you guys online as well, and I've been really impressed how you involve the children, how you involve every ministry in about 30 minutes. And that is very creative, and it takes a lot of planning. So I applaud you guys for what you're doing over there. Because for us, it's, we're smaller, so it's a lot easier to make people, send stuff, to the cell phone or text something over, Dropbox something over, and put it all together. But when you have a larger congregation, how do you make people feel a part of that? So I applaud both of you for being able to do that. So I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, and, there's a lot of negatives, the statistics that we're seeing, what's projected for next week, what happened last week, what's in the news. But have you found a silver lining or something positive or revelation that you've gotten in the middle of this process that you may not have expected to receive? So we'll start with Rodney.
When I think of Isaiah and he talks about, behold, I am doing a new thing, this is not the way I wanted to experience this new thing. There are other ways that I would like to experience a new thing, and not necessarily in a pandemic. And so I guess the silver lining for me is to be patient and to be faithful and to heed those voices that are not necessarily church related, i.e. the scientists, i.e. those persons in health professions that talk about what we're doing to preserve ourselves during this time. And so oftentimes the church has a way of not celebrating or partnering with those experts in the community. And they have now found a way to understand that, hey, they're making sense because the numbers don't lie. People's lives are, people are dying. And so how do we make sure that we adhere to that and at the same time be who we are? And so I guess the silver lining for me is partnering with professionals who are in a business that we are not in.
Yeah. Geraldine?
Well, I guess the new thing for me is what I realized, or the silver lining, is people really do listen to you as a pastor. Be mindful of what you say and what you've been preaching and what you've been saying, because my congregation has truly surprised me in the way that they have accepted things because of the fact that I've been teaching, and you know how you're teaching, you figure, well, I don't know whether they're getting it or not. But the silver lining for me, first of all, has been that I see that they get a lot of stuff that I have been preaching and teaching, and they are now mimicking that. They are now coming forth with that. And then the other silver lining for me is that I get to reach more people on Sunday morning with the things that I have learned with technology that I did in the church. I look at, at the Facebook page, and I see the people who have viewed, or I see the people who are on. And I have people who are members of my church who haven't been, just be honest, hadn't been there in a minute, but they're in Bible study on Wednesday, online and in conference call, and they're watching. And so I am, that's the silver lining for me, that I get to do this, and to be very careful also about doing it. But I'm thankful to God that the kingdom is so big, and that we get a chance to share with the kingdom. So that has been my silver lining in all of this, I think, in watching people. When I look out there and see the list of people who are there, and I'm going like, wow, this person was on, this person was on, and this person was viewing, and I'm hearing from this person. And to keep in touch with the older generation, who are really, 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 really trying to make sure that they connect. So that has been two of my, I think there's a lot more, but those are two of the things that have just been really exciting for me, and been a silver lining in all of this.
That's awesome. So what are y'all, I know on Sunday mornings you're on Facebook Live. What are y'all doing on Wednesdays?
On Wednesday, I do conference call Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And my Bible studies are usually pretty good, and because I have a noonday Bible study, but I've combined both of the Bible studies. So I have people listening from work, listening at their desk, and so forth. So I look out there, and when I have like 30 people in Bible study during my conference call, and although they didn't say anything, people say, "Oh, I was on Bible study. I heard Pastor say Bible study." I'm going like, wow. I am just excited about that, and wanting to do more. That's one of my silver linings, I guess, with that, because as a pastor, you want to teach people. You want people to hear the word during this time, for them to be encouraged. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So it was very exciting. That's two of my silver linings for that.
Awesome. Now, Rodney, what your church on Sunday? I know it's on YouTube, right? And then what are y'all doing during the week? On Wednesdays?
During the week, Wednesday we have Bible study, and so we have, for the last Wednesday we had when the associates lead a session. We also have 2 book groups that have started as a part of a weekly activity, and so but primarily on Wednesday we do the Bible study.
Are y'all using Zoom on Wednesdays, or
GoToMeeting?
GoToMeeting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've never used that, so that's something new for me to look at. So if a lot of my listeners are pastors for Unleashed with Eva, are there any words of encouragement or caution that you would want to give to pastors that may be listening? We'll start with you, Geraldine.
My encouragement to pastors is do what you've been gifted to do. Don't worry about anyone else out there, because this is intimidating sometimes for us to be in front of people, but be you. That's one of my encouraging things. And the other encouraging thing is stay connected. Stay connected with the community and what's going on in the world. I tell people, when we're preaching or when we're teaching, we should have the newspaper in one hand, or the media in one hand, and the Bible in the other. So stay connected so that you can give your people fresh information. You can keep them updated and connected with what's going on, because everybody's not watching. I have started a newsletter that I send out via email every week, telling my people, what's going on, what's new, what they should be doing, what the CDC is saying, what the mayor is saying we should do in the city, how can we help, do some other things. So stay connected. Just don't, stick our heads in the sand and wait for the church to open back up, but stay connected. Yeah.
Awesome. Rodney?
Be flexible. Sometimes we get into a rut and we want to do things like we've been doing them. And so oftentimes that recipe just won't work. And so you have to be flexible to see what can work, and also be open to having those leaders and others work with you, because this is not about me, the pastor. It's about us, the congregation. And so how can we work effectively as a family of faith, and being, buoyed by this time together and staying connected? I'd also say take care of yourself in the process. A lot is expected of you. If you're the pastor or a political or religious leader of the congregation, take care of yourself in the process. If you are caring for yourself, there's nowhere in the world that you can care for others during this particular time. So eat well, get rest, exercise, and do something that's very meaningful for you so that you can make sure that you are the best self during this pandemic season.
Yeah, and regarding exercise, that's been, a pain point for me because my gym is closed. So I've had to be kind of creative, but, I've been doing a lot of walking, and that's helpful for me. I found a trainer that would meet me outside and stay 6 feet away while he trains me. So that's, for me, that's kind of like something that I have to do for my own mental, how I feel. I don't feel good when I don't exercise, but I've had to work around that. So I'm actually looking forward to gyms reopening and smaller classes and keeping that safety. But so we know there are potential for things to start reopening in Birmingham, gyms, restaurants. Do either of you have thoughts, opinions, cautions that you'd like to leave our listeners with regarding that? Geraldine, we'll start with you. Oh,
go ahead, Rodney.
Sure.
Go, Rodney.
I know the governor is having a press conference today at 11, and I'm sure the mayors are going to speak to this issue later on this week. But again, I would exercise caution. Numbers do matter. And I would think that until the numbers are really, really down, continue to wear a mask out in public, continue the social distancing, continue the cleaning process. And let's not get too excited about, they said it's time for us to go. I think there needs to be a slow process. Again, I like to use food metaphors. And so when you make a roux for gumbo, you have to take your time with the roux to make sure that it's right and the right color. And so I think we need to take our time and assess whether or not it's correctly appropriate for us to, open our congregations fully when the government gives us the green light.
I certainly agree with Rodney, and but I do, I guess in my opinion, I want leaders, church leaders to start thinking about what opening your church would look like. Don't wait until the time, whenever it comes, to start planning what that routine will look like. You need to start with your leaders now, talking about what would it look like with us going back in the building. And I think we need to face the fact that this is the new normal and that things are not going to be the same anymore, that we're going to have to practice some very cautious ways of worshiping and coming back into our buildings. And I want us to understand, and I'm with Rodney, we don't know all about this. We don't have a vaccine. We see people, and I do want our people to understand, African Americans to understand that we're not getting the numbers, that we are the highest numbers that are losing our lives in this pandemic. It's not being said, that as much. We see numbers, but we see it, that we are 12% of the nation, but we are 20% of the people that are losing our lives in this pandemic. And we need to really know that. And I think the leaders need to step up, African-American leaders and our denominations and so forth need to step up and say things to our congregations and so forth and let them know this, that we're very concerned about this. And rushing back into this just because everybody else opens their doors does not mean that we have to open our doors and rush back in to the situation. I know people want to go back to work. I know people are anxious. Some people are suffering financially and they're needing some things, but I also feel like this is a time for us as Christians and as people of faith to share with each other. And people say, well, I did send my stylist some money, during the week because I know I go to her every couple of weeks and so forth. I did try to share my resources. And this is when the community comes together and tries to, help each other out. So I think those are some of the things. I'm very cautious about us opening up. I'm very cautious about us going back. And I do think we should pay attention to the fact that we don't know what's going on. We don't know, and all the unknowns cause a problem.
Yeah. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race for me on this one. I've enjoyed both of you, and I want to give you guys a chance to give any closing thoughts. to our listeners, as well as share any information you have, how we can find you online. So we'll start with you, Rodney.
Yeah, I just want to agree totally with Geraldine as far as connection and being connected with others during this time. It's vitally, vitally important. And so it can be very easy for clergy persons to isolate themselves, but don't do that, because brothers and sisters, we need you. You mentioned connection handles. bcoc.net is the website for the church. We also have BCOC Birmingham is our YouTube page. rfranklin@bcoc.net is my email address. In addition, final closing thought, be prayerful, connect, and keep looking up, because I still think even during this season, the best is yet to come.
Yeah. Yes, and you can find us on Facebook at Southside CME, and also our webpage is SouthsideCMEChurch.com. So you can find us there. So, and you can find me at GA Daniels 1056 at sbcglobal.net. So feel free to connect with us or connect it if you have any questions or any situations or anything that you need. I agree with Rodney that as clergy persons, we tend to sometimes isolate ourselves from each other. And I think that's one thing that I'd like to leave with the clergy, is that we need to talk to each other. Rodney may have some information that I need that could help me, and I may have something that could help him. Someone else may have something. You may have something to share. And as we share with one another and talk with one another, it will help not only us, but help our congregations to also grow. So thank you.
Oh, this has been a great conversation. I thank both of you. As soon as we get this edited on YouTube, I will send it to you, as well as share your church information in the caption. But I thank you and I appreciate you for your time. You can go subscribe to me. It's Eva Melton on YouTube. And when we upload this, you'll get it. But thank you so much for your time. I know you both are very busy people, but it means a lot to me for you to come join me in this space. So I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Unleashed with Eva. I hope you were inspired, encouraged, and motivated to tackle a new week. For more information about the show, check out www.evamelton.com.